Welcome to Lac de Bonnie Ponds. And also, welcome to ice fishing. Welcome to Uncut Angling. I'm Aaron Wiebe. Temperatures have been kind of hovering around freezing for a week now. So there is snow on the ground and there is ice on the water, sort of. There's also a lot of open water here. I think this pond gets quite deep, and deep water is what holds warmth. So your deepest lakes will be last to freeze. Your shallow ponds and shallow creeks are first to freeze and to be accessed at your own risk. And I don't know, truck's right here. I'm gonna drill 1 or 2 holes and see just how much ice we're dealing with. Throw a jigging spoon down, throw a tip up with a minnow down, and see what lurks in Lac de Bonnie Ponds. 2020-2021 season. This could be the only video because of something horrific happening. Oh, that's not bad. There's a little bit of ice there. Okay. Can still see the bottom. Nice rock chunkies. I'm hoping the thickness does not change with the color. Snow cover is actually even more what I'm afraid of, because when there's snow cover, it insulates the ice and it's likely to get much thinner. Okay. That's actually not bad. Like, not too bad. And already cannot see the bottom that well there, even though I can see the bottom perfectly. Rocks? No rocks. We found the drop off. Bring the toboggan. You can see I've drilled holes every couple feet here, and I'm not going to be eager to go in any direction aside from this line that I've sort of safety checked. If this looks crazy to you, considering you can see open water and stuff beyond me, if you're scared to go through the ice or you haven't felt the ice water before, don't charge on out there on this much ice, because if you hit that water and you're not ready for what's going to come, you'll suck in water in your panic and it'll be over real quick. If you can say you go through the ice every year, then you would know what I feel hitting that water. You know, I'm a young guy, I'm in shape, prepared to pull myself out as I've put myself through that year after year. You know what I'm going to do? Just to make this a little better, I did bring a board. And this is going to spread my weight out tons. I'm going to fish on this side. And just like that, I'm kind of indestructible. Spreads my weight out so much, and suddenly I'm not concerned at all. And the lesson to be learned from that, of course, is if you're ever concerned about the ice, go down on all fours, or even if you have to crawl. And just like that, I can go across infinitely thin ice by spreading my weight out. Okay. Just want to be on the board. I guess I'm going to put the tip up in the deeper hole, which kind of gives it a bit of an advantage maybe. And then I'll jig in the shallower hole. I didn't give that a lot of thought. Got a depth finder. I'm going to clip it onto my line. This is 6-pound fluorocarbon to a tiny little treble hook. Just going to drop that into the hole. This is just to assist me in setting my tip up. You can see it jigging there on the fish finder. Probably gonna want it set a foot off bottom or so. So when this is loaded up, right there is like a foot off bottom. So I'm gonna leave everything set, and I'm just gonna pull this up by hand, take the depth finder off, and then I've got in my pocket fresh, tasty little minnows here. And you could use a single hook on here also, and oftentimes on a tip up over the years, I would just use a single hook. But since that jaw jacker hits them immediately, I want them to have a better chance of getting pricked. That the treble hook just kind of gives me a little bit more confidence. So this is all set and ready to go, because I have not touched the reel or anything since I had the depth finder on there, since everything's so weightless. And being weightless like that is key, so that when the trout swims up, he can eat it, and it's a very natural presentation to him because there's no weight on there whatsoever besides that tiny little treble hook. Got a little piece of Dacron on the rod tip here that goes into the mechanism. That, and then the line sits in this cradle. And this is like a hairpin trigger now. If a fish swims by, it releases the rod tip, essentially setting the hook. So nervous to pull my hand away. But yeah, right there. And then I'm going to use a jigging spoon on my other rod, but you could use a little rattle bait, or I guess a jig in a plastic. Also, the key thing is the classic 1-2 punch. You've got the real minnow and the fake minnow, being the jigging spoon. Trout can be such, this is a trout pond. I didn't say that yet. You don't want it to be a buzzkill. This is a stocked trout pond. Click off of the video now, give it a thumbs down, unsubscribe. Trout can be super picky, and yes, they will eat a freshwater shrimp if it's just swimming through the water, but as soon as you try and skewer it onto a hook, or as soon as you try and put the minnow on the hook, as soon as the minnow's dead, as soon as there's just something going on, they may be less likely to eat it and more likely to chase a tiny rattlebait or a tiny spoon around because it's got more intrigue to it. It's got more triggering ability, potentially. As much as it feels like I'm actually ice fishing now, I have not put a photo on social media showing that I'm ice fishing. So am I really ice fishing? Okay. That feels better. Boom! 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 Oh, here comes a fish to the jaw jacker. There's a fish on the jaw jacker. Yes! Freak nuts! What? It's not big! Well, you know what that means? It's for dinner! Look at that perfect rainbow that we are going to eat for dinner. Tiny little treble right in his beak. Perfect! Mwah! We will dispatch him. Okay, same process. Depth finder. Drop it down. Oh, that was awesome. There it is. This is a dipstick from Frostbite, 39-inch light. So you saw that rod was loaded all the way up in the jaw jacker. So it sprung, ready to hit that fish. And that was just so perfect. First fish of the ice season, and it's dead! It's for dinner! I've been kind of living a vegan lifestyle, but an exception I will make is fish, of course, and honey, and really anything. It's not about ethical with animals, it's more about the pharmaceuticals and all the disgusting stuff that goes into the meats. And I'm not trying to ruin meat for you, but that's just what I'm trying right now. And I'm going to bleed him right now. Break the attachment of the gills and the tongue and whatever right there. Now that can bleed out. I don't know if we're gonna bake him or fry him, but we'll take you along for that. Dinner! Come and get it! Okay. This is the time of day that the brown trout come out to play. Brown trout love dusk. Oh, yeah. Come on, be a sow. Oh? Is he looking at the... I think he just freaking left. And not sure on size. If I were to measure it out, I think, yeah, like 1.5 feet or something. It wasn't 2 feet. He seemed to get spooked. Somebody must have said something because he darted straight to deep water. What the heck? Well, I'm surprised that nothing more happened through prime time there. And if you were serious about a brown trout and patient, you really could stay out all night and you'd probably have way better chances of actually catching a brown trout than fishing during the daytime. I am, however, quite a bit more serious and quite a bit less patient about getting to this rainbow. Let's cut its head off, but not actually, because we are just gonna slab it. The standard cut is straight down, but you want to favor your knife a little bit like this because there's more meat up here than there is down in this section. So we'll do kind of a cut around its head like that. Go down the belly. Don't let me forget to check what's in the belly, of course. Cut straight down till I hit the backbone. Turn your knife and just run all the way down like so. Look at that beautiful piece of meat right there. Okay, there's one side. You can see we did not miss anything. Oh, let's check the belly. If you are a fisherman and you're cleaning fish and you don't see what they're eating, then I do not know what makes you tick. Let's see. Oh, it's just good old bug muck. These are all probably water boatmen and freshwater shrimp. But that is why it is so hard to catch them, because we use jigging spoons and jigs and minnows and all sorts of ridiculous things, and they're eating tiny little microscopic stuff that weighs almost nothing. They will often readily take a minnow, but it is not what they're primarily eating. So again, kind of follow the gill curve here to get as much meat as you can. And just turn your knife and run it down the length of the fish. A lot of people like to, with trout or salmon, keep the fish whole and then fill the body cavity with, I just did one little cut there to separate the fillet from the anal fin. And there we go. A lot of people like to keep the fish whole, maybe cut the head off, but then actually fill the body cavity with onions and mushrooms and different stuff before they put it in the oven. I don't know what that's all about. It feels like that's being fancy, and I can't really imagine too much of those flavors permeating out of the rib cage and into the entire fillet. Whereas now we are going to bake this fish, but when we expose the whole fillet, remove the rib cage. Pretty self-explanatory, saving as much meat as you can by having your knife run right underneath like that. There's one rib cage, no meat on it. Okay, I can trim some of this fatty stuff. There's a fin there. Okay, and then what's this here? Something there. And then, like any fish, there's a row of bones that runs along the lateral line. On a pike, we call those Y bones. On a trout, they call them pin bones. I don't know what they call them on a walleye, but we do that zipper cut to get that row of bones out. And some people say, oh, those just cook out. But if you're giving fillets to someone, you want to make sure all the bones are out and that they're not chewing around those bones. So here's the lateral line. And on a walleye, those bones are straight up and down. But on a trout, they're at an angle into this top piece of flesh. So the first cut is going to be underneath the lateral line. And you'll feel that you're hitting underneath those bones when you make this cut. This row of bones on any fish only goes back to the poop chute, so about 2/3 of the way through the fillet. So I've done a cut up underneath those bones, and then I'm going to put my knife just above the lateral line, and this cut is on the top side of those bones. And again, I'm going to run it at an angle. Once I get it started, I'm going to run it at an angle. Like so. So basically I've done an incision on both sides of those bones, and then that piece is going to zipper out of there like that. And then that chunk of meat is lost, but at least this is now a boneless fillet with that slice taken out. Okay, there's my other one. Give those a quick rinse. And I know people always talk about how red the flesh should be on trout, or that it's desirable. And this flesh is more of a peachy colored, so I am hopeful that it's not muddy tasting, as I've heard people talk about stock trout before. I'm not greasing the pan or anything. I've got the skin to protect the fillet, and I don't really care if it does stick to the tin foil. Put a little bit of olive oil on the top of the fish, just because I've heard people talk about that. Kind of brush that on there. Roasted garlic and pepper seasoning. More is better is the rule of thumb with seasoning, and salt and the like with cooking. And onion, by the way, so I'm just going to put all this onion on there. Those spices and that onion is definitely going to get to the meat, unlike the cute little tummy tuck that people like to do when they're cooking, when they sew it into the belly. Anyways, okay. In goes the trout. Should be at 400. People always talk about wanting your meat to flake when it's done, but you actually want to stop cooking it right before it readily flakes. You want to pull it apart with your fork, and then it flakes with encouragement. You don't want it to just be gaping open. That's overcooked fish. So we're going to check on that after maybe 8-10 minutes, and then continue checking it. Stay tuned. We will find out if this trout tastes muddy or not. We're cooking now? Like, what is this? Okay, it's probably been 8 or 9 minutes, maybe? I'm gonna pull it out and tease it with the fork. It looks pretty freaking good. So, you can see on the outside edges, it might be flaking a bit. What's it doing on the inside here? Yeah, that's perfect. When I tease at it, it's not just falling apart. You can see how the flesh here is intact, how it's not all blowing up. You want it to flake when you force it to flake. I'm gonna taste this right freaking now. Are you ready for this? I don't know how this is supposed to work because you don't actually get to taste it, obviously. And I'm not likely to tell you I screwed this up, although I do want to be forthcoming about whether the taste of the flesh is muddy, as they say trout can be from ponds and small lakes. And we saw the color wasn't the most appetizing. It wasn't that rich red color. It was more of a peach color. So here we go. Ready? Ready? It's amazing. It's amazing. Shall now pig out on said trout. Oh, that's so good. So simple, so easy. Really makes me regret releasing a lot of fish over the years. I'm trying to eat vegan, I said. I won't get into it or get preachy about it. It's not about animal rights as much as just maybe trying to eat a little healthier. Cut back on dairy, cut back on meat, cut back on sugar, but not cut back on fish, not cut back on fishing. And here we go with ice fishing, guys. Be very safe out there. Don't be in a rush to get out on lakes, to get far offshore. Stay close to the exact areas that you have checked. Every single step. You saw it today. I scoped out the area I was fishing and I checked every couple feet and had a safe experience. Looking forward to a great ice fishing season here, and you will be coming along. Thanks for watching. Please tell me that the last thing you do when packing up is pull your rods out. I've fished with humans and they say, okay, let's go in. And the first thing they do is walk over and pull their tip ups out.